Hey, what's up guys? It's Aaron with 2 Minute Tech, where I do tips, tricks, news, reviews, and how-tos fast. And today, we're gonna take a look at the first 10 apps that I put on my iPhone. So if some of y'all follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you may know that I recently am in the process of changing jobs. To me, that's a pretty big life event, and I'm really excited about what's to come. It also just turned to 2019, which is another pretty big life event, and generally speaking, when stuff like this happens, I like to completely erase my phone and set it up as new. Now I know for some of y'all that sounds completely crazy, and I don't really recommend this for most people. If you do it, make sure that you have a complete total archival backup that you would do through iTunes. Make sure your photos are backed up. It can be really destructive if you don't know what you're doing, so I don't necessarily recommend that you do this yourself, but whenever I have something major or monumental in my life, I like to erase and set up as new. Again, I cannot stress this enough. If you don't have a backup, do not do this. I am not responsible for your data loss. Cool? Let's move on. So with all that said, let's get into it. These are the first 10 apps that I installed on my phone this time when I set my iPhone up from new. All the apps are going to be down in the description below. Alright, so I know it's a little bit of a secret, but I have a YouTube channel. So the first 2 apps that I downloaded was YouTube and the YouTube Studio. Obviously, you're probably pretty into YouTube videos if you're watching this one, so you may already have the YouTube app on your phone. However, the YouTube Studio app, if you're a creator, is completely invaluable. You can check your comments that you've got, you can look at some of your analytics. Obviously, I wish that they did a lot more with analytics on YouTube Studio on the iPhone, but it's pretty good. Since I try to do all these videos in 2 minutes, I'm going to skip past ones that you may not be interested in or already know about and talk a little bit more about some apps that you may not be familiar with, like this one called Ulysses. So Ulysses is a writing application that works for iPhone, iPad, and on your Mac as well. I mainly use this app as a note taker for all my YouTube videos. However, I do know that a lot of people use Ulysses for long form writing, such as posting to websites, blogs, or even books. The reasons why I love using this app are the fact that it works on iPad and I do most of my writing there. It also uses the markdown language, which allows you to use just a keyboard to update things like bold or italics or underline or bullet point. You can use markdown to kind of code that in with a keyboard, so you don't really need a mouse. Now Ulysses does require a subscription to use, but there's a free 14-day trial if you want to check it out. I get a lot of flack from a lot of Apple people because I use Google's keyboard, but honestly, I like swipe gestures and Google's pretty good. I like the fact that there's GIF support in there, or GIF, don't at me, and I really like the way that GBoard uses emoji. It's really easy to quickly plug emoji into your text. Privacy with the GBoard app is supposedly really good, but it is Google. You know they want to use your data. If you're not cool with that, you may want to hold off on using GBoard, but I do recommend it. It's a really great keyboard alternative. The 5th app that I downloaded on my iPhone was Tweetbot. For those of you that may not know, I absolutely hate the first-party Twitter client app. I can't stand it. I mean, they're always playing around with it if they're going to do chronological, if they're not. I don't like the way the dark mode looks. I can never really vibe with the real original Twitter app. Some of the things I really dislike about the Twitter app, Tweetbot solves very well. The dark mode's fantastic. Tweets are always in chronological order, and I don't have to see any ads to use it. That's not to say that everything about Tweetbot is all roses. One of the main drawbacks is the fact that you can't see polls in Twitter, which the real Twitter client can, but that's not enough to swing me to re-download Twitter. I can't stand that app. Tweetbot for the win. Alright, the next 3 apps on the list are pretty boring and stock. I downloaded Facebook, I downloaded Instagram, and I downloaded Facebook Messenger. And I don't normally like Facebook Messenger, however, if you want to message anyone, Facebook makes you download it, which totally sucks, and I'm in the process of selling my house and buying a new one, and all of that communication with my realtor went through Facebook Messenger for some reason. So Facebook, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, next 3 on the list. Now the 9th app that I downloaded on my phone probably doesn't apply to a lot of people, but for me it was the ESPN Fantasy Football app. I absolutely love fantasy football. I play in at least 5 leagues. At one point in time I was in 12. I really prefer the Yahoo app better, but the championship game that I was in was still in my ESPN Fantasy League, and I'm always going for that hashtag FootClan title. Okay, so the 10th and final app that I installed on my iPhone is an app called Overcast. Overcast is by far and away my absolute favorite podcast player. One of the reasons why I think Overcast is so fantastic is because the person that develops it is an actual podcaster named Marco Armament. You may have heard him on some podcasts like Top 4, there's a few others, but the most popular one that you've probably seen him on is Accidental Tech Podcast, which I highly recommend you check out. Since Marco is a developer and a podcaster, he's constantly making improvements in developing this app, which is one of the reasons why it's so great. Smart speed on Overcast is fantastic. It's absolutely by far and away the best way to listen to any podcast. I usually do 1.2, 1.3, and it kind of drifts. As the audio drifts, it cuts out those silences, and it'll kind of change to make sure that it sounds the right way. My only knock on Overcast is I wish that it would sync with the internet so I could listen to it on things like my Sonos speakers at home, but overall it syncs with my phone, it syncs with my computer, and it syncs with my iPad, and that's good enough for me. Alright y'all, so that wraps up the 10 apps that I installed first on my iPhone this time around. By no means do I think that these are the 10 best apps for your iPhone, these just happen to be the ones that I put on my phone first this time around. If you like the video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed and you want to see more videos like this, definitely do so. Thanks for watching.